Hello, everyone, and welcome to Weekend GamePlan with Marcus Hersh. I'm Dan Illman, along with DRF handicapper and analyst Marcus Hersh, and we're going to take a look at 3 weekend spot plays, some of the major races across the country. Marcus, we're going to start things off with the Jockey Club Gold Cup, and as we take a look at the field, they were able to scrape up 5 for the prestigious $750,000 Jockey Club Gold Cup. The 3-year-olds against their elders, and I had the pleasure of having you on with Andy Beyer for a special DRF webinar available at video.drf.com and the Daily Racing Forum YouTube channel. We talked a little bit about the Jockey Club Gold Cup, and you guys made no secret your feelings about this 3-year-old crop.
Yeah, I don't think they were very positive. Maybe we'll be proven wrong. Code of Honor, I guess, has some upside. Maximum Security, I guess he's on hold. We won't know much about that. But I'm very bearish on these horses. I've been impressed with a lot of things that have happened with any of the 3-year-old races. And now, in Europe, the 3-year-olds have been running against older horses since late June. But now we're just getting a chance to see how they stack up against older horses. The thing is, though, Dan, that the older horse division is not exactly rife with talent, as evidenced by the paucity of entries, not just in this race, but in the Awesome Again and in California the same day. Didn't draw a big field either, also very top heavy. But anyway, yeah, I'm going off the line here. I'm hoping that David Aragona has made a decent line, and that Preservationist is something like 9-5, because I think he's I prefer him considerably to the 3-year-olds. He only gives up 4 pounds. I think he has a tactical advantage pace-wise. I think that he won the Woodward Stakes last time, despite the circumstances. He was in a trafficy spot. The track there is, it's a tighter oval. I think that he's a big, long-striding sort of horse who's a lot more comfortable, likes the rhythm of probably the configuration of Belmont. And if he can get a free-running trip, which in this short field with an outside draw, I don't see how he doesn't get that kind of trip. So I'll be monitoring Exactas and his win price. I'm willing to bet him to win at something close to these odds, because I think that's considerable value, in my opinion, vis-a-vis Code of Honor and Tacitus. And then just briefly on those two, as I was saying on this webinar, and my position all along has been that, given what I thought was the significant outside bias to the track surface on that car, the Travers card, and Tacitus had blinkers on. He ended up on the lead, was 1 to 2 pass off the fence into the first turn. Jose Ortiz got him off the fence on the backside, but then he ended up on the rail again around the far turn before he came off again. So he spent a lot of time on the worst part of the track, I thought, whereas Code of Honor was outside, 8 wide and upper stretch. He ran a good race, but I think he had the best of things as far as the way the track was playing that day. I think the margin between the two is probably a lot closer than that. And this is the second time blinkers for Tacitus. And the blinkers, I think Mott probably has put on for a good reason, and we could see their effects over time. And maybe this is the day that Tacitus gets better luck and can complete the exacta behind Preservationist.
Well, he's a horse that certainly had his share of bad luck on Belmont Stakes Day. He was wide on a gold rail day, and in the Jim Dandy, he didn't break very well and sort of ended down on the deeper inside surface. And we saw it again last time out as the Travers, as you pointed out, but he's going to have to step it up to beat his older rival, that being Preservationist. Your top selection, the number 4 in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. We'll move to Churchill Downs for the Lukas Classic. Let's take a look at this field, and this is a really evenly matched group. The morning line favorite, the number 4 Quip, threw in an absolute stinker last time out in the Pacific Classic. I really have no explanation for that performance. He was on the lead, and at about the 3/8 pole, Quip called it quits. And I just have a problem playing a horse at a short price off such a lousy race, even though he fits this race from a class perspective like a glove.
Agree. He has run some of the better races in the field, but he's very in and out and unreliable. And I do think he wants to be forward. And I know at least one other horse, Pioneer Spirit, wants to have that same spot. In the end, a lot of the way I looked at this race hinged on the way I believe it will shape up, with a couple horses that are going to go a decent pace, and then some horses attacking probably from the half-mile pole to the 3/8, ensuring some solid middle fractions too. And so I went dabbling a little deeper than even the second-tier contenders, like Silver Dust, who's been in great form all year. He has a capped upside. He likes Churchill. I don't think he wants a mile and an eighth. The horse he just beat in Mountaineer, Kukulkan, the Mexican horse, I think he ran a pretty good race last time, although that was a front-running dominated race. So going down a tier from there, I mean, Tenfold is another horse in that second tier. I do think he's going to take a lot of support, and people who see the race like I do, where they might go a legit pace and a horse coming from farther behind could have a chance. I think that will be the choice of many, Tenfold, to pick things up. But I went a little farther afield with horse based where I stay most of the time in Chicago, Sir Anthony, an Illinois bred, who is 15-1 on the line. I think that's a legitimate price. I don't think the line is great in a lot of areas here. Like, I think he's probably a shorter price than a couple horses drawn on the inside, or listed at 12. But I do think he's double-digit odds for sure. I can easily forgive his West Virginia Governor's Cup last time at Mountaineer. Mountaineer is a very funky track. That was a fairly slow pace. I didn't like him that day for whatever reason, and he ran about how I expected, just evenly. I also really think that if you go back and look through this form, a couple things come out with this horse is, A, even though a lot of people don't even know who he is and might not think he's that good, he's a 4-year-old, and his recent dirt races when he's at the right distance are all pretty solid. I mean, I think they're good enough to fit this spot. And B, so he won the Cornhusker closing into a fast pace, going a mile and an eighth, and then the skip away, a mile and 3/16. He made a good run there. I think he needs at least a mile and an eighth to be most effective. He gets it here. If the pace is as I think it might be, he'll get the right setup, and he's going to be the right price. So I'm willing to try Sir Anthony in the Lukas Classic.
15-1 on the morning line on Sir Anthony. He's pulled off some big long shots in some major races in the past. We just have to go back to Gulfstream earlier this year. I think he took down Audible, shooting up the inside over a wet track. So Sir Anthony should be running late. We'll move to Laurel for the third of our 3 weekend game plan plays. Really fun card at Laurel on Saturday. Sort of lost in the shuffle with all the Breeders' Cup prep races going along. Let's throw up the field for the Japan Racing Association Stakes, carded as race number 7. Before we get to the analysis, just want to remind everybody that the written edition of Weekend Game Plan and the daily edition of Game Plan, available, of course, on DRF.com. Get Marcus's selections as well as other expert handicappers and analysts' top plays. In the Japan Racing Association Stakes, they made Postulation, I believe, the 7-2 morning line favorite, but I want to talk about Highland Sky, a horse that really appreciated a wet track and a 13-furlong distance last time out at Saratoga. Prior to that race, he ran sort of middling races against the better graded horses in the division. He's getting some class relief. He fits this race. I just don't think he's 9-2.
I don't think so either. I assume you did the analysis for this card, Dan. Is that correct?
I did.
So how did you see this race?
I thought that Highland Sky would be the favorite in this race. I think that Postulation, coming off a fairly visually impressive return off a long layoff, is also going to take money. And I think that your top selection, Nakamura, might sort of be the now horse. While I think we've seen Highland Sky in Postulation's best races, I'm not sure we've seen the best last race of Nakamura, and I'm interested in your opinion on that, because we'll go back to his last race at Saratoga, and he made this big inside middle move to get into contention. Now he's swinging to the outside, and he's able to sustain that run all the way to the wire. I think he's ready to step up.
Furlongs. Yeah, no, I mean, I know it wasn't the horse he beat came back and won at Kentucky Downs well enough. I mean, it wasn't a high class race; it was an allowance race. And the horses you mentioned, Highland Sky and Postulation, are stronger than that horse. But I think you point out the all the things that I saw about the nowness, and also that race at Saratoga. That was I thought that was a fine effort. I think he was like 33.91 for his last 3 furlongs in that race too. So after making that early move to get into position, he came flying home. I think it bodes well for his chances to get 12 furlongs. It's just a horse that I followed kind of all along. I remember when he first ran at Laurel last April, I think Graham Motion, the trainer, had 2 horses in the race, and I guessed at the other one. I was wrong. And this horse caught my eye even that day because I thought he finished quite nicely. And he just made steady progress. There was a blinker change partway along. When he ran in his only stakes there were 2, but his last stakes try, last fall at Laurel, came on a yielding course. It was very, very wet that day in the Bald Eagle Derby, and he ran fine, and that was a good field for that race. Channel Cat, won the Bowling Green Admission Office. He finished second in the Dixie to Catholic Boy. Very good horse. He's on the shelf now, I believe. But that was a legitimate field, and I don't think that this horse Nakamura really wants it wet. The forecast looks good for getting a firm course, and while he might not be quite 8-1, the forecast looks good for him being, to me, a fair and playable price as a 4-year-old still on the upswing, just 3 starts into his campaign this year.
Well, there you have it. 3 weekend game plan spot plays from Marcus Hersh in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, the number 4 Preservationist, in the Lukas Classic, the number 5 Sir Anthony, 15-1 on the morning line, and in the Japan Racing Association Stakes, the number 6 Nakamura. Best of luck with your wagers this weekend.